Hello, good evening.
Some gray square came up on the screen, Rajiv, and some bar at the top. I don't know what is that.
Gray bar.
Yeah, there's some. Samir, can you also see it?
Yes, sir, it is there and it will remain and it will go itself only, nothing to require for it.
Okay, all right. Now,
Basically, this is only related with the Zoom content that is coming pop-up with the Dr. Rajiv's screen, and that is showing us as a dark black color, that type of the bars.
right.
Sir, good evening.
Samir, I think we can start.
Yes, sir. Can we wait for 2 minutes and then we can start?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Doctors, kindly start.
Yes, our chairperson just joined, so we are starting. Uma madam, good evening.
Yeah. So
Good
let's
evening.
start.
Good evening.
Madam, we are starting now.
Okay.
Okay, so from your side, welcome.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I, Dr. Uma Naik, as the chairperson of iCancel, I'm really excited to welcome everybody here, and mainly excited because the talk is going to be by none other than Dr. Rajiv Seth. I would call him my mentor for this work that I'm doing, and being into iCancel itself was completely because of Dr. Rajiv Seth and Dr. Srivastava. And whatever I have learned, whatever I've been doing, is a bit of what I've learned from him. And he's done so much that all will come in the introduction. I welcome all the panelists. I welcome the viewers. And I would suggest that we should take home quite a lot from this, because Dr. Rajiv Seth will have a lot to offer. And I don't think we can get so much from anybody else. So welcome you all, and let's go move forward.
Thank you. So, dear friends, good evening to all. And after the welcome by our chairperson, I hand over the mic to our secretary, Dr. Yogesh Sarir, for the introduction of our speaker and proceedings.
Dr. Seth doesn't need any introduction. I think I'm going to just say the same words that Dr. Umar said. He's been a mentor to me, and he's done a fantastic job and made a name for himself in the history of this subject in this country, and even abroad. We all know that he's been the president previous years, even for the global. Welcome, Dr. Seth. We haven't heard you for a long time on this webinar. So have your day. Great. Enjoy yourself. And teach us, please. We are all waiting.
Thank you. Thank you for this kind and generous introduction from Uma, from Yogesh and Samir. So, dear friends and colleagues, this is a subject which is so close to my heart. And I'm glad that all of you are joining. and a very senior professor, Dr. Professor Srinivas, is also amongst our panel. And I would really encourage you to ask questions through the chat, and we should have discussions at the end of the presentation. So many of you are aware of the UNCRC, which India signed in 1992. And this United Nations Child Rights Convention has implications both at policy making level and decision making level. And it defines child as a human being below the age of 18. It has 54 articles, and 4 articles are general principles. This should be on the desk of each and every pediatrician in our country, because we do have a lot to offer. A child-based response is the need of the hour. Violence against children is a new terminology, and I'm going to just briefly discuss the typology. It includes all forms of violence which occurs below the age of 18 years, whether it occurs from parents or caregivers or peers or romantic partners. And globally, WHO has estimated that over 1 billion children between the ages of 2 to 17 experience one sort of physical, sexual, emotional neglect in the past year itself. So it's a huge, big problem. And this is what I was telling you, typology. We used to use the word child abuse so often, but child abuse refers mainly to interpersonal violence, which is physical, sexual, emotional neglect. But when you talk of violence against children, you include the entire typology, which includes bullying, youth violence, intimate partner violence, in addition to sexual violence and emotional or psychological violence. So the Sustainable Development Goals, that now there's a target 16.2 to end abuse, exploitation, and trafficking in all forms of violence against children and torture of children. So SDG goals have an inbuilt target, which has to be achieved by all nations. We all know the WHO has defined child abuse as a violation of human rights of a child. It includes all forms of physical, emotional, sexual harm, neglect, or commercial or exploitation of children, which actually results in harm to the child's health, survival, development, or dignity in the context of a relationship of responsibility, trust, or power. Child neglect, on the other hand, is defined as failure to provide for the needs of a child, the basic rights to health, education, nutrition, emotional development, shelter, safe living conditions. And this is in the context of the relationship where the parents don't have any limitations. They have, and if it has to be considered in that relation. So a child who is born in abject poverty and parents do not have, then it's basic the rights of a child to be provided for. The magnitude of the problem is huge. We still have the very old study from Government of India. We really need to have another study, and I sincerely hope that the government invests in this to get the new data. 2/3 of the children in this study were physically abused, and about 50% were emotionally or sexually abused. And neglect was more found in girls, to a tune of 70%. Now, there are lots of risk factors, and I'm not going to go because you're all pediatricians and you would know that broadly the risk factors could be divided into community or societal factor, high crime rate, wherever there is high poverty, unemployment, or lack of social services, or it could be parental factors, especially single parents, teen parents, parents on drugs with low self-esteem, emotional maturity. Parent-related factors will also include where there's domestic violence, lack of parenting skills, and extreme stress, history of depression, and other mental health problems in the parents. And if the child is born with unwanted pregnancy. And child-related factors could be many more than just prematurity or low birth weight or development delay. Now, why is this important? As doctors, a child who's abused and exploited and neglected, subjected to violence, it leads to short and long-term health consequences. A child could regress in his behavior, his developmental milestones could return to thumb sucking, bedwetting, or sleep disturbances, eating problems. A school-going child could have problems in school, sexualized behavior, and it affects their mental, physical health, and reproductive health, and continues in their academic performance and social functioning. So essentially, all these are now called adverse childhood experiences. And previously we used to encompass them as child abuse and neglect, but nowadays we also include key elements of family dysfunction and a child's social environment as integral part of this. Now, ACEs can be defined operationally as childhood events which are varying in severity and often chronic and actually cause harm and distress to the child, both physical and emotional and development. And these are major public health problems. As pediatricians, many of us would know this. The first study by Feletti et al. In 1998, a large epidemiology research study in the US, which found that when there's a relationship between child abuse and household dysfunction related to lots of adult onset diseases. And these diseases could include hypertension, diabetes, coronary artery disease, depression, substance abuse in the adult onset. So any child who's abused early on can be subjected to toxic stress. If you can see that adversities in childhood leads to toxic stress in the child and leads to epigenetic modifications, disruptions in brain architecture, and maladaptive behavior in the child. It can lead to high prevalence of non-communicable diseases in adult onset, and it can lead to poor adult outcomes. So essentially, ACEs could be, defined as, related to the early adversities, or when it occurs in early childhood, it can lead to regression of developmental milestones. If the middle childhood, it can lead to behavioral issues, externalization and internalization behavior, and chronic health and adult onset non-communicable diseases. So these are important public health problems, and we as doctors can intervene to prevent, and we could do a lot more if we can join hands and look at the social environment and financial insecurities, poverty, where there is conflict, wherever there is unsafe drinking water, inadequate sanitations, air pollutions. All these society and environmental issues will also lead to adverse experiences in childhood, besides abuse and neglect. So there's a huge burden of non-communicable diseases in our country, and it has its origin in early childhood. So the slide is a busy slide, but all those things marked on the red, I can read out. If there is maternal malnutrition, if the pregnancy is complicated and child is born with asphyxia, is not given early developmental stimulation, has disabilities, child is subjected to abuse, neglect, exploitation. If a child is subjected to bullying or any other kinds of violence, it can lead to development of adult onset diseases, and these are ACEs on the red. But there is an opportunity for us to intervene. So if we are able to provide for the needs of the mother and good antenatal care during the labor, early childhood, early stimulation, breastfeeding, if we are able to do basics that we as pediatricians are required to do, and we are able to do breastfeeding, complementary, all these are preventive issues which you need to understand. It's so essentially malnutrition is also a big adversity for a child. So we are not just talking of child protection issues, we are talking the whole, and that's why the term violence. Now, brain of a child is particularly vulnerable to these adversities throughout the childhood, and the brain development, although has unique characters and plasticity, but there are critical periods in the development of a child, and if an insult takes place in early childhood, particularly, it can lead to consequences, and later on, it can lead to higher order functions as well. So if you look at this slide, on your left side, there's the ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences. They arise due to the poor physical and mental health outcomes during the life course of a child. They can also occur due to intergenerational transmission. And there are now epigenetic changes which are defined. Shorter telomeres in the chromosomes have been shown. There have been immune dysfunctions. There have been problems related to the hypothalamic pituitary axis, where increased cortisol levels and due to high amounts of stress in the abused and exploited children. All these physiological mechanisms will lead to development of ACEs and influence on long-term health. Now, we know that prefrontal cortex, which matures a little later in childhood. And this is one of the reasons why impulsivity, risk-taking behavior, a range of risk-taking behavior such as substance abuse, risky sexual abuse takes place in adolescents. And the role of emotional regulation, which is a key mediator between the early adversity and outcome. And therefore, it is important for us to look at factors which, some children will get internalizing problems and depression and stress. Others will have high risk-taking behaviors and conduct disorders. But one thing we all know that we need to protect and prevent, and the best way to do that is looking at the unique environment, and the child is growing up in the parenting is emerging as one of the most important strategies to protect and mitigate the extent of ACEs. So parenting is something that we need to discuss, and we need to do research within our own country. And this is one area that Indian Academy of Pediatrics and both Eye Cancer Group can contribute significantly. Role of doctors in management of abuse is something that we all need to be cognizant of. We need to make early diagnosis, and we need to refer these children if we can't handle ourselves, but we need to keep accurate records. Our roles as doctors to collect forensic evidence is also very clear-cut under the POCSO Act, and we need to provide confidence. We need to give them confidentiality and provide emotional support to the families and affected victims. Talking to the child is another area that we need to be mindful of, and a trauma-informed care approach where we have non-leading, non-suggestive, developmentally appropriate history-taking with medical histories is obtained independent of the caretaker, and verbatim records are recorded from the child, him or herself. Trauma-informed approach is a victim-centric, where we empower the patient, we ask permission for everything we do, avoid blaming the child, we allow the child to get control and safety and respect of the child, and transparency, extremely important. Explain what you're doing, and do explain to them the limits of your confidentiality early on. So, and you need to do one thing is to minimize re-trauma. Most of these children that you would see in your practice where they've been abused and exploited, they need a trauma-informed approach and psychological safety. Prevention is one of the most important things, is often neglected. If in India we can work towards all our stakeholders, which includes right from children to their families, to the teachers, the communities, and professionals, both within the government and outside, we could do a lot. We need to deliver message of prevention, not just for vaccinations, because we need to understand we can't immunize every child against the possibility of child abuse, but we really can give them life skills education. We can shift our focus from acute care all the time towards anticipatory guidance and giving the message of prevention from abuse and exploitation. Like I mentioned about positive parenting, this is an umbrella term which is used whenever we have approaches where a child is parented without violence. It's based on the principles of child rights. It's research informed, evidence informed. We work inclusively with both parents and children working together. And it is well known that positive parenting leads to benefits to the child and benefits to the parents. Benefits of the child would include less depression, less disruptive behavior, less delinquencies, and benefits to the parents would be less depression, anger, less domestic violence, and improved work functioning. Prevention, again, whether it is child abuse or child sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse is a major public health problem, and anticipatory guidance about personal safety and privacy information should begin as early as 3 years of age, where parents are encouraged to teach their children the concept of okay and not okay touch, and they need to tell anybody who touches their private parts. They should, and children should be encouraged to teach children not to keep any secrets. Prevention of child abuse, sexual abuse is especially important because we see horror stories of institutional child abuse. And this is something that we need to contribute by making visits, joining hands with the government and the policymakers to shape up a child protection policy. And obviously, all the staff who's hired in such institutions should have background checks. A role of media is extremely important role in awareness and sensitization. But we need to be involved, and as pediatricians, as doctors, we need to be leaders to not just educate the parents and teachers, but also Anganwadi and community health workers like ASHA workers and ANMs. It's our collective responsibility and the responsibility in parents, physicians, and the multidisciplinary professionals that we can deliver the message of personal safety and privacy information. And those children who actually get this education, they're 6 to 7 times more likely to develop protective behavior. INSPIRE is the 7 strategies which have been laid down by WHO. I don't know how many of you are familiar with these 7 strategies, but these are the most important things. We need to encourage implementation and enforcement of laws. The 2 very important laws in our country, the Juvenile Justice Act and the Protection of Children from Sexual Offenses, at least these 2 laws have to be implemented and enforced. Norms, social norms and value change, keeping safe environments, parental and caregiver support, income and economic strengthening, the response and support services. This includes parenting and education and life skills. So this is an integrated and a strategic approach which has been a hallmark of WHO, End Violence, and all the UN agencies in the present times. And special training programs have been arranged worldwide on the INSPIRE strategy, and our country is no exception. So this is a small piece which came recently in the behavioral health sector response, means on child sexual trafficking. There's a small handbook which was released in 2020 in the COVID struck, and but still sold about 15,000 copies. This will be updated very soon, hopefully, and we're looking forward to that. And we would like all of you to join the Indian Child Abuse Group. You have met Dr. Uma Naik. Professor Uma Naik is professor, head of department at the Parel University, and and Professor Yogesh Sareen, who's the secretary. And these are two very senior, experienced doctors. One is a pediatrician, the other is a pediatric surgeon who are so committed. And so we are a multidisciplinary group, and we would like to join. I have kept my slides short. I do not want to talk, rather I want to listen from you, and I want to be available to you to ask questions. There was so much more that I can talk, but I think the more we talk, the less time is for questions. So let's have some questions, and I really thank you for your patient listening. Thank you very much. I'll stop sharing now. And there's one other thing would like to show, because we do have some time, is to show you the IAP website, Preventing Violence Against Children. This is, see if I can get access to that. We would like you to look into this, and let me just see if I can get hold of it. Meanwhile, if you have any questions for me, I'll be most interested in answering your questions. I think this is pretty much my end of my presentation, but I do have something to show to you. And I'm just going to see if I can get laid hard on this. So the Indian Academy of Pediatrics, this is a partnership between the Indian Council Group, the Indian Academy of Pediatrics, and we developed this Prevention of Violence Against Children initiative. This initiative can only succeed if we have all of you taking part. And we hope, and I think, Ashok is here, and Dr. Professor Yogesh Sareen has taken our courses, Professor Umar, all faculty members. So I really encourage you to look into this website. And this website also has some things that I would like to show to you, some videos which have been made recently.
Are you
Yes,
we
ma'am.
can't see. Are you showing something?
I'm sorry. I'll just show you.
Have you put anything on the screen yet? Not yet.
Yeah. No, not yet. Now, can you
Okay.
see?
Yeah, now it's there. Yeah.
Now you will see. So this is our website as Prevention of Violence, background, rationale, our aims, some resources, message about IAP and ICANN. So there are, for the professional medical doctors, some educational, some of the lectures that have been taken. And then we also have some videos for caregiver and parents, which we want to certainly, take it out to the communities. A simple thing that as doctors, for example, I'll just show you one video. May not have time to show you all the videos.
No. Actually, Dr. Rajiv, you do have some time for some videos, so that should be a good idea.
Here. Can you see this?
Yes.
Right to education. In a country such as India, which has a rich tapestry of cultures and languages, education is the beacon that guides the future of its children. India, home to one of the largest population of children, 440 million, in the world, has taken a monumental step by enacting the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act in 2009. This landmark act ensures that every child between the ages of 6 to 14 has the right to free and compulsory education. A promise of a brighter future, enshrined in law. Education is not just a right, it's a passage to empowerment, creativity, and growth. It's about building a foundation for a child's dreams. However, the journey is not without challenges. Accessibility, quality of education, and retention are hurdles we must overcome together. Through collective effort and strong will, communities, educators, and the government are working hand in hand to ensure that this fundamental right is upheld. Because every child holds the potential to change the world. And education is their right, their weapon, their hope. The right to education, a promise to our children.
So for example, this was a minute's video which we have made, and we would be putting this up in YouTube. Then similarly, you have early childhood development, which is another area which has been a focus for UMA.
Early childhood development. Seeds of tomorrow. A child's brain develops fastest in the first 2 to 3 years. Components of nurturing care framework include health, nutrition, responsive care, opportunities of early learning and safety for the young child. In the heart of India, young minds are blooming. Early childhood centers provide a nurturing environment for holistic development. Quality education lays the foundation for a brighter future. Healthy bodies lead to healthy minds. Parents play a crucial role in their child's growth. Playgrounds foster creativity and social skills. Keeping every child safe is essential for their overall development. Investing in early childhood education is investing in India's future.
Similarly, whenever you get time, you should see this, and I would really appeal to you that if you could circulate such videos through our through your offices, to your wherever you could. There are a few others. There's one, child's right to protection, for example. Show you this one. And we need support because, although it's about less than a minute, you can.
Guardians of tomorrow. In a nation where every child holds the promise of the future, protecting them is our foremost duty. India's commitment to child protection is enshrined in laws like the Juvenile Justice Act and the POCSO Act, ensuring every child's safety and well-being. Awareness is the key. With knowledge and vigilance, we can shield our children from harm. When children need help, the nation answers. Helpline stands ready to act. Justice prevails, not just in our courts, but in the hearts of millions who believe in a safe future for our children. Together, we are the guardians of tomorrow, nurturing a generation that will transform India.
So you can see there are mainly, our community workers, child physical abuse. I didn't show. There's a recent paper. I'll send it to Uma and this thing which came in British Journal of Radiology on child physical abuse. We really more this story in a hospital on abuse.
Child physical abuse. In a world where innocence should thrive, shadows lurk where they shouldn't. Nitika, an 8-month-old female child who was in a state of coma, was brought to a hospital by her mother Sunanda. Mother Sunanda, who looked very anxious, gave a history of the child fall from the cradle. Father Ramesh appeared tensed, looking away from the mother. Doctor on examination found Glasgow Coma Scale of 4, irregular breathing, left eye small pupil, 4 mm, left deviation of the eyes and paralysis of right side of body. Doctor asked the father Ramesh.
What happened?
Dad Ramesh replied.
Sir, the child had a fall from staircase and her head hit the wall.
Her parents seemed stressed and argumentative, with tension palpable in the air. Doctor advised CAT scan which revealed 3.5 cm size left temporoparietal epidural hematoma, blood clot, in the brain. Child was moved immediately to the operation theatre, where the blood clot was drained. Pediatrician informed the Child Welfare Committee, CWC. On interrogation, dad confessed.
I was annoyed with the child, so I pushed the child and child hit the wall.
Counseling was done and the CWC committee decided to remove Nikita from her abusive home. Nikita was moved from her abusive home to a place in the foster home of her aunt Girija, who took care after her full recovery. Whenever there is a discrepancy in the clinical history, child physical abuse should be strongly suspected. In case of suspected child physical abuse, the main objective is the child should get medical treatment as well as protection.
Now, one of the most difficult thing is how to describe child sexual abuse, because here there's very complex kind of abuse where there are stories which parents there's so much of grooming that goes on, and let me see if I can get hold of that, and I'll show you the one we have. So this is something that Dr. Shaiba, who's one of our faculty, and she was able to give me some stories. If you have more stories from this thing, Dr. Uma has promised me to give one on child marriage. This is on child sexual abuse. Let me see. Try to keep these very short, except this one, it's about 2 or 3 minutes long.
Child sexual abuse. Sexual abuse refers to the involvement of a child in any sexual activity that the child does not understand, the child is not developmentally prepared for and cannot give consent to, or any act that violates the laws or norms of society. Under the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences POCSO Act, 2012, any sexual activity with a child below 18 years, whether boy or girl, is a crime. As defined by the POCSO Act, sexual offences include penetrative sexual assault, Section 3, sexual assault, that is non-penetrative, Section 7, sexual harassment, Section 11, and use of a child for pornography, Section 13. Child sexual abuse is a deeply concerning issue that affects countless lives. Statistics in India are particularly alarming. Approximately 28.9% of children in India have experienced some form of sexual crime. Most of these cases occur within the family or involve individuals known to the child. Listen and see how perpetrators and offenders groom the innocent child for sexual abuse. Nena is a 14-year-old girl, the second child of her parents. She has a 16-year-old elder sister with whom she is constantly compared, in looks, in studies and in behavior. She knows that her parents were disappointed when she was born, and very happy when they had a son 2 years after her. Nena is rebellious and argumentative, and is often ticked off by her parents for answering back to her grandparents or aunts and uncles. Of late, a cousin has started taking a lot of interest in her. He is 22 years old, just started working, and stays over in their house often. Her mother is very fond of him and asks him to teach her proper manners. He often takes her to an ice cream parlor or juice center. Nena loves the attention he is giving her and demands gifts from him, which he promptly brings. Nena fantasizes about him and imagines him as a bridegroom in wedding day dreams. He started kissing her, which she found enticing. But since last month, he comes to her room at night and has been having penetrative sex with her. She is scared and excited. He tells her that he will definitely marry, but she knows that her family will not allow first cousin marriages. She does not know how to say no and she doesn't know whom to ask for advice. Parents should avoid comparing their children to each other and instead focus on accepting and appreciating each child's unique qualities. We should talk openly with them to understand their problems and guide them on the right path. Ravi's story.
So
Ravi
most
is 6
likely
years
I'm going to
old,
be
studying in class
dividing
1
this
in a
into
private
two.
school. His parents are both civil engineers. His mother stopped working after he was born to take care of him. Last year, his father lost his job when his company shut down. The family has been facing severe financial issues and managing on loans from the extended family who live nearby. His father gets angry easily and his parents fight a lot. Ravi started going to his uncle's house in the next road after school to avoid the scenes at home. His uncle would spend time with him, admire his teacher's star performance remarks, and often give him sweets. Ravi enjoyed being there and playing with his cousins. Over the last month, his uncle first started calling him into his bedroom and making him sit on his lap.
So sexual abuse
Then he would
occurs in
take off his
boys
pants and
as well
make
as
Ravi touch
girls.
his genitals. Now he had started making him do things which were disturbing Ravi. When Ravi would leave his uncle's house, his uncle would smile and give him sweets and say,
See you tomorrow. Okay, Ravi.
Ravi would wave his hand and leave for his home. Remember, as responsible individuals, we can report cases of child sexual abuse confidentially to Childline 1098, Child Welfare Committee, CWC, Emergency Response Support System, 112, or police in your region. Parents hold the responsibility of teaching their children about good touch and bad touch, fostering awareness and safety in a supportive environment.
These are two real-life cases which Dr. Shaiba had given to me, and we have converted them into this little video for showing it to our frontline workers. Similarly, there's one on emotional abuse, which I got support from Dr. Sagar from AIMS. And I'll just see if I can get line of that. So these are under the caregiver center. If you can use any, you can just give credit to iCancel IAP Prevention Violence Program. So this is an emotional abuse, very hidden form, very important.
Child emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is defined as an act of causing various behavioral, cognitive, emotional, or mental traumas to a child by the parents or caretaker. Emotional abuse is one of the most hidden forms of maltreatment. Behaviors such as rejection, ignorance, shame, humiliation, terrorization, and isolation have been broadly categorized as forms of emotional abuse. Emotional abuse leaves scars that no one can see. Words can hurt more than any physical blow. Inside a small, cluttered room, little Ravi was sitting at a tiny desk, doing his homework. His dad, Mr. Singh, comes in, looking angry. He shouts at him saying,
Ravi, why can't you understand this? You're not good at anything.
Ravi feels sad, and starts crying. Ravi tries to help his mom, Mrs. Singh cook. She smiles at him, trying to cheer him up and says, Don't worry, Ravi. You're smart, and you'll do great things one day. Ravi feels a little better. Ravi lies in bed and listens to his parents arguing in next room. It makes him feel scared and
So
sad.
intimate
He
partner
hears his
violence
father
is a
saying,
form of abuse.
I can't believe Ravi can do anything right. He's a disappointment.
Ravi wipes his tears, wishing his dad would be kinder. Alone at home. Little Maya sits alone at home. Her parents are working and do not give her time to sit, play or talk to her. Maya sits alone at the kitchen table for dinner but does not feel like having it. It's 12 of midnight. Still, her parents haven't returned. She murmurs saying I'm hungry, but mommy and daddy aren't here. Maya's stomach grumbles as she looks around the empty kitchen, feeling abandoned. She whispers saying, I wish mommy and daddy would tuck me in and tell me a bedtime story. Tears roll down Maya's cheeks as she drifts off to sleep, feeling the absence of her parents like a heavy weight on her heart. Lost connection.
Many times little Sam sitting on the floor, plays with his toys. His parents, Mr. and Mrs. Khan, seated on the couch, are always engrossed in their smartphones.
Sam, trying to
Another
get
form
attention,
of
waves his
abuse
toy
now.
in front of his parents and says,
Mom, Dad, look at this.
but they don't even glance up from their screens. Sam sadly tells his mother,
I don't feel like eating, Mom. Can we talk?
Mrs. Khan absent-mindedly nods but still has her eyes fixed on her phone screen.
Sam lies in bed, staring at the ceiling. The soft glow of his parents' phones filters through the cracks in his door, casting shadows on the walls.
Feeling sad, he whispers.
I wish mom and dad would put down their phones and spend time with me.
Sam curls up under his blanket, feeling the sting of loneliness in a house filled with gadgets but devoid of connection.
Emotional abuse takes many forms which include neglect, humiliation, manipulation, and isolation. Together, we can make a difference by encouraging, reporting, seeking help, promoting awareness and empathy. Let's break the silence. Together, we can protect our children. Speak up, act, prevent child emotional abuse.
As you can see, then child neglect, the commonest form of abuse, and I give Ashok the credit of giving me this story on which we have developed this video on child neglect.
Child neglect breaking the silence. Child neglect takes many forms: accidents, absentee parents, lack of love, emotional deprivation. One day Maya, a 3-year-old girl, walks through the street with her mother. Her mother, busy with her mobile phone, gives no interest to Maya. Maya sees a street player showing a puppet show on the roadside. She stops there and starts enjoying the show. Her mother keeps on walking without noticing that Maya is standing near the puppet show. Her mother, after some time, notices that Maya is not with her, and she runs back very agitated and nervous. Meanwhile, Maya notices that her mother is not with her, starts crying. A respectable person comes to the child and asks her what happened. Why are you crying? She tells him.
I got lost from my mother as I stood watching the puppet show.
The person stays with her and supports and pacifies her. After some time, her mother finds Maya standing near the puppet show with the gentleman. She thanks him and accepts her fault. Mother holds the daughter and starts scolding her for not following her. Parents and caretakers have the prime responsibility to protect the child. Every citizen of the country has the responsibility to contribute to the safety and protection of children. Speak up, listen, act. We can break the cycle. Together we can protect our children.
Silent cry. In a world bustling with noise, there exists a silence that echoes louder than any scream. Ram, a 6-year-old slum boy, wearing worn-out clothes and looking unkempt and malnourished, is often found walking alone through the littered streets, kicking small stones along the sidewalk. Whenever he enters his house, his parents are always shouting and arguing among themselves, paying no attention to him. In the shadows of broken promises, innocence withers away. Ram often sits in the classroom looking disinterested, appearing detached and inattentive, lost in his own world of worries. In classrooms filled with dreams, his eyes reflect a void. While other children play happily in the playground, Ram sits alone on a swing, watching them with longing eyes. In the laughter of others, his silence is deafening. It could be seen that Ram was severely malnourished, pale and looks sad. His parents did not pay attention to any of these signs and he felt neglected. A concerned neighbor notices Ram and his distressed demeanor. He approaches him with care and
So
concern
child
and asks
protection is
him.
everybody's
Are you okay,
responsibility.
The neighbor connects Ram to the Anganwadi social worker, who takes him away from his neglectful environment to the Anganwadi center, ICDS center. He hesitates but then looks back with a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Ram, now in a safe environment, smiles timidly as he plays with other children in a bright, welcoming space. For every silenced cry, there is hope in the echoes of compassion.
So I think we are at the end of it. Prevention is one of the most important thing. And then there's one for a minute for online safety of children. So prevention of child abuse, very, very important.
Preventing child abuse. Guardians of tomorrow. In the heart of our society, we hold the key to a safer tomorrow. Safe schools are the foundation of prevention. Bullying stops where empathy begins. Discipline should never harm, it should guide. Parenting with love nurtures resilience. Teaching personal safety empowers our children. Life skills build confident, capable individuals. In a competitive world, let kindness be our strength. Together, we protect innocence and shape a brighter future.
And last one is on safeguarding children from online. So we still have more scope to add more videos for our community health workers, for parents and families. This is the last one. In fact, it's just been uploaded recently. It took so much time in making each one of them. And
Breaking the chains, safeguarding childhood online. In the digital age, their innocence faces new threats. Recognizing the risks is our first line of defense. Empowering children with knowledge keeps them safe. Parental guidance creates a protective shield. Reporting abuse ensures swift action. Digital literacy equips them for the virtual world. Together, we break the chains and create a safer online space.
this is it. I hope you were able to hear some of them. Need your support, all of you, all people who are in the panel and otherwise, to come forward and give me stories, which we have a reliable person from the DIAP platform who's connected with us, who makes these videos, but it takes a lot of time. So thank you very much for your patient listening. Over to the moderators.
Oh, the videos have really come out very nicely, very nice. Huh? Dr. said, I had seen a few, but not all of them. And very good work, very impressive work, I should say. And you said that that's quite a reminder for me that one of mine is pending, and I will hopefully be able to give it to you soon, the story. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. If you, Yogesh or Ashok, you have any other stories, Professor Srinivasan, you have any stories in your practice, you can send us.
Informative.
If you send us some real life stories, we can convert into videos so that we can, these are for the frontline practitioners. The child abuse prevention response is everybody's business, not just doctors.
I wish to share a small story. I mean, my experience and need answers from the experts here. In my WhatsApp messages, I've conveyed that we got in touch with some bikers, and on a particular day, some 8,000 bikers took out rallies all over the world, USA, Australia, everywhere, against child sexual abuse. So in a way, it was quite a successful program. But what hurt me eventually was that when I was talking to the bikers and the students and the teachers in this very renowned school in Faridabad, I could connect very well with most of the audience. When suddenly one senior male teacher probably, started talking, and not to me, but between them. And eventually I realized that all the students were gone in the next 5-10 minutes. And I was wondering what happened. So the other experts and senior principals and all that who are involved in this kind of work against child sexual abuse, we were discussing. So what had happened was that the senior teacher, he got up and started saying that what this gentleman and the other lady is talking about is against our culture and all that. We don't talk about, sex or child sexual abuse, and we do not implicate family members and give examples of uncles and aunts grooming them and all that. And that this is a taboo issue. And the whole crowd, many of them grown up adolescents, NCC cadets and all that, they just disappeared.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, I realized that basically the faculty there are not primed into these issues and they carry on.
Absolutely.
So this was one of the 300 schools that we intended to go to, and we will plan to change our strategy a little and then pursue it the same. But it was quite a shocker that educated teachers, although they talk about that this in the schools, in the curriculum, they started talking about sex education and other things, that even educated people would take it as a taboo topic to be discussed. And as long as we take this as a taboo topic and do not accept it as a problem, we would never find solutions to the whole thing. So it was disappointing in a way, but it probably taught me some lessons, and I still would like to learn more from you how to handle the sensitive issues with these people who are yet not that enlightened so as
Yes.
to help these children.
Yeah, so absolutely, it's really related to our education and nurturance and how people grow up in this country. There's another related question which Professor Srinivas has just asked, is about these videos that we have made. Any legal or ethical issues are there in taking such videos and make it available for viewership? So, sir, I will just counter question you, sir, as to what you think could be ethical or legal issues here. We haven't shown any private parts. We have not shown any. We have given stories which are real life stories, and especially the only delicate part could be the child sexual abuse, where we talked about grooming, which is one of the very important dynamics of child sexual abuse and how a child is groomed. And if you look at my presentation, if the child is not, I would say these videos need to go down to the very, very, very close to the families as well as the children themselves, because it's high time that all the stakeholders get sensitized, and only then we will be able to prevent. A country such as ours, if we cannot prevent child abuse, I don't think we'll have enough laws to kind of deal with the response part, when the abuse has already taken place. So I will be breaking these videos even further. Some of them are 3 minute or 4 minute, and people don't have that kind of an attention span. So we'll break it up again, but trying to collect stories. But I'll just counter question you, sir, as to what you think could be legal or ethical issues of taking such videos. And if you can also throw a light to what Dr. Yogesh Sareen has raised. Dr. Srinivas.
Will it not affect this thing, the children are all there, and it'll affect their future, psychological, because we are taking, and they'll be knowing that they will be shown. So will it affect their emotional and other aspects? These are real this thing, or
no, these are
made up these things. So
no, these are
videos.
No. Some of the stories are from real life situation, as people have found out. Professor Shaiba Salana, who's a child sexual abuse expert, gave us two stories. Professor Sagar gave one on emotional abuse. So they are not, they are instances that are real life stories, but the way they have, we can put a disclaimer up there, I think at the bottom, that we do not need to affect anybody. It's not taken up from anybody's life, really, so that we don't get into any kind of ethical problems by anybody.
Maybe something like any resemblance to anybody Life is
anybody.
maybe just
Yeah.
accidental or unintentional or something like that.
I'm sure the
Yeah.
names have been already changed. I'm very sure of that.
Yeah, they were. So the names are already changed. So we can put a disclaimer that in case they resemble anybody in real life situation, that is not our intent.
That is just unintentional
It
and
is
accidental or something.
very good. So I was wondering whether it will affect the people there in that picture, whether it will indirectly have effects on their emotional this thing. That's
I-
what my doubt.
I think, sir, I think it'll be okay.
I
Um,
also think, Dr. Rajiv, I think sir, Dr. Srinivasan, I think your point is well taken, but these are all animated. So they are not real, children or there. And I think this is not accessible to some young children who'll understand. But if it is a little older child who really needs to know the same age that we are showing, if they need to know it, they'll really learn. I don't know, maybe we could just pilot it on some children or some, I mean, just find out how do they react or something, maybe. Rajiv, if we haven't looked into that, maybe we could
Look into
just
what,
see
ma'am?
what a child's reaction. If some
Child?
children happen to see this, if a child happens to see this, what is the child's reaction? Do they feel scared or I don't know. I think that's what Dr. Srinivasan is saying.
Yeah,
I think
those
that's
days,
not-
the analogy,
I think
that
it's not
every film,
intended for
the
children,
old days
primarily.
films will show the stepmother is still treating the child. Then all the stepmothers thought, but that is the norm. That's how they started thinking there's nothing wrong in that. You remember those days, most of the films were on this thing, children, mothers die due to pregnancy or some complications, and stepmother
Right.
still treats. And they started thinking that probably that is the normal nature of a stepmother.
But that went against the stepmothers who were really good. Also.
Dr. Srinivasan, the problem in our country is that we are supposed to be the most cultured people, but there was an article in Indian Express just a few days back where a journalist managed to get some 200 children pawns for just 632 rupees. And there was a pawn which was available for 30 rupees, where a man was raping a 3-month-old toddler. So I think, unless we accept that there is a problem, as brutally,
I understand. I just
openly,
wanted to ask that question.
yeah,
So that
the things cannot be changed. I mean, I feel no shame. In Guwahati, I got up on the dais, showed my own case, showed the pictures of my uncle who was the perpetrator. And after that, 2 sessions had to be cancelled because everybody raised hands and wanted to discuss their stories. And those children who talked to me in Guwahati, I'm talking about the year January 2019, are still in touch with me, and they discuss the problems that they have today. I've helped some of them with some loans which they have paid me back. They are in touch when they get into any problems in their life. We all very susceptible. We all very, what do I say? So hand holding to accept that these things exist and to kind of get rid of them from this society. To say we are all very cultured and Sanatanis and all that, it's very good. I mean, otherwise, but to accept that what all
I think
push under the carpet is just nobody's business. I mean, I have a long series. Sometime one of these conferences, I'll show what all happen in madrasas and schools and whatnot. It's terrible.
Dr. Rajiv, can I have a madam? Can I have a minute?
Sure.
Yeah, after
Yes,
that, one
please.
comment from me.
If we are planning to give it into the periphery or stakeholders like Anganwadi workers and all, how can we? Did the DIAP people be able to put something in the law?
I'm sorry?
So can we have these dialogues in the different languages, either as a dub into the different language or putting it in the
Yes,
footnote or
yes.
something like that? We have to work it
Eventually,
out that.
yeah. Eventually, we have some funds to translate into different languages. I'll be speaking to the people. First, I wanted all of you to see it in this webinar now, and before we will be putting that into at least 6 to 8 or 10 how much languages,
Yeah.
different languages.
Yeah, okay.
In fact,
Yeah,
this could be one thing that the iCancel group could take up to be a part of the IAP community ki baat. This can be a good. We have these few videos. They should be promoted. They should be a part of the central IAP initiative.
A very important area.
Yes, sir.
Dr.
I
Uma wants
just-
to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say something which I always do when we take these lectures on VAC, and whenever I do it for general pediatricians, it becomes a little bit of a threatening statement, but I do make it very clear to them that, Rajiv, we think most of the people have attended the ECD, but it doesn't so happen. Whenever I'm talking about ECD, very few have attended and nobody has internalized. That's the thing. But then I tell them, if you don't know about ECD, all the 5 elements, we only give at the most health, of course, yes, not health. We only treat disease and not health, and we don't do the others. And if that is, and that is early childhood development, and it is a mandatory for us to give that. And if we don't, then it is violence against children, then they'll say, what? If you don't
Absolutely.
offer ECD, it is violence against children. So you better not
Yeah.
only attend, but internalize and give, because if they give, this responsive caregiving and safety, security, so much of prevention is automatically occurring. They have to put those pictures in their in their clinics and things like that. So ECD is finally about 0.1% of the people who are attending are really internalizing and giving it to them. But I don't fail usually to make this statement. If you don't know ECD, you don't learn ECD, and you don't offer ECD, you are promoting, you are part of doing violence against children.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is
You're
against
absolutely
child
right.
rights. And that goes against child rights. So you are violating child rights. They'll all get up and say, what? I said, yes, it's true. It's true.
Very good
It's
point.
true. Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah.
I think
So-
Dr. Uma
I
had
think
done
we
a
are.
great.
Are we? Is the time up, Samir, or who's there? Should we be winding up? Are there questions? Who's
Uh,
We
looking
don't
at
get questions. We don't get
Okay.
questions
Okay.
with the other delegates or people. So basically, we probably end here. And
Okay.
and
Okay.
I really appreciate Dr. Seth that he finished most of this talk, although I heard that before, in about say 20-25 minutes, and then we could talk. The more we talk, the more solutions will come up. More
And that
we
he
will
could
be
show all the
able to-
videos. And he could show all the videos. So that's a
Yeah,
very good.
so yeah, nice. I mean, a different way
Right.
of doing things and a new perspective to the whole thing. With that, I
Yeah.
think we will come to know about how many people actually attended in about 2 weeks' time. The DIP.
Okay.
I'll convey the same to you.
Thank you.
Right.
Thanks, Dr. Rajiv.
Okay.
It was a pleasure once again. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you,
Good
Ma.
night to all.
Thank you,
The
Yogesh.
videos are very good. Awakening. Yeah. But
Yes,
I
sir.
asked
you,
a
sir.
question because whether there are any legal implications.
I don't think,
Sir,
sir, we can just be
Sir, you
rest
should-
assured. Be rest
Sir, you
assured as
should-
of now.
Yeah, sir, you should give us some stories so we can convert into videos. Okay. It could be
Okay, thank you.
anything, right from malnutrition to whatever. This is also abuse. A child being denied proper nutrition is an abuse,
Absolutely,
neglected
absolutely.
child.
But unfortunately, our
Malnutrition
legal
is very
system
much
is
neglect. If it is,
No,
if it is
it's
down
a
to
basic
the
right of a
spite of all the
child.
proofs and all, the legal system, loopholes are there and they get escaped. Punishment is not given to the perpetrators. recently you have seen how, in spite of so much of events occurring and the proof was there and the proofs are all tampered, and then these people they get, especially in South, in many states it has increased abuse
I
of
can
this
see
thing
that.
because
Maheshwar,
alcoholism
it's
and drug
increased
addiction
everywhere.
has become
It's
so
increased
common.
everywhere. Yeah. Anyway,
Okay,
thanks a lot
great.
and
All right.
good night. Good night.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye,
we
bye,
have to do
dear.
our
Good night
job.
to all. Good night to sir.
Bye, dear. Bye. Bye.
Bye.